Turn your Bibles to Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Thank you so much. Last week, although I was gone, I didn't miss out on all the great stuff from the Pastor Appreciation Sunday. I always forget about that. It seems like it's kind of a newer thing, but I'm just thankful that, church, you don't forget about it. You spoil Pastor Josh and I and our families so much, and that's wonderful. I mean, I didn't come back to just candy in my office. I came back to specifically my favorite candies, and not just mine, but my wife's, and each of my children, all their favorite candies. And I know Pastor Josh and his family were also spoiled, so I just want to say we really do appreciate you all appreciating us, and it's a joy and a privilege. This is the greatest church that we could ever pastor and lead at, and we are so thankful to be here. Well, it's my first Sunday back in the pulpit from being gone, and I remember to turn my microphone on for 2 services in a row. It is going good. Of course, the other option would be I just always leave it on, and I trust the soundboard to turn it on and off for me. There is no one on this planet I trust enough to do that. So I will not be caught on a hot mic situation, okay? So we've been looking at the book of Ecclesiastes to keep you up to date where we've been. We've been in the book of Ecclesiastes, and it's such a powerful book because what we see in there is like we have this one life to live, and we're all searching for purpose and fulfillment and meaning in this one life, and we could have multiple lifetimes over and over, and we could say, I'm going to dedicate myself to just becoming so wise, or I could dedicate my life to pleasure and all the things of life that would just make me happy. I could dedicate my life to knowledge. I could dedicate my life to riches. I could dedicate my life to works of labor. And the cool thing about it is we don't have to, because King Solomon, with his supernatural knowledge, and then, of course, being the king that he was able to actually kind of do all of this for us, and he kind of writes back a report to us. And he says, okay, here is the real answer to these big questions. And we find ourselves in Ecclesiastes. We've made it to chapter 3. So if you're able to stand with me, let's go ahead and read chapter 3, just the first 15 verses. And we'll see, because you're going to see that Solomon's going to switch gears a little bit. It's going to be a little different this evening. He says, to everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born, a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. What profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboreth? I've seen the travail which God hath given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also he hath set forth the world in their heart, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all of his labor. It is the gift of God. I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And God doeth it, that men should fear before him. That which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. And God requireth that which is past. Heavenly Father, bless the reading of your word to us tonight. Lord, for the young ones, to us older ones, Lord, help us not to set ourselves above the wisdom of this book, but Lord, help us to be ready to respond to the wisdom that you have. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Let's take a look at when life feels out of sync. So there's a time for everything, yet sometimes life feels out of sync because life moves in seasons. And I found it in my own life to use that word and think along that ways, because sometimes when something's happening that you don't like, you have this idea of thinking, well, this is forever. I can't see out of this. There's this way it's going to be. And I've always tried to look at it as, okay, this is a season, and this season will pass. I remember the scary days we were talking in our car ride on the way home this morning from church, and we were talking about the stupid times, COVID, right? Where we just like put arrows in grocery stores, and we did the most ridiculous things, and we were laughing because my daughter was born February of that year, and we're thinking she'll probably have no memory. She'll have no memory of anything that happened. Praise the Lord for her. But we do. And I remember, and we talked about, although we make fun of it, it was a scary time in the very beginning. And we didn't have all the answers. And I remember in my own mind just thinking, okay, this is scary, this is weird, and we haven't been through this before, but it's a season. And the season did pass. And we're thankful we're beyond that. But that's the way life is. Life doesn't stand still. When I had twin boys born here, my wife and I, we also were parents of twin babies. We didn't know how to take care of one baby, let alone two. We actually sat down with parents who had 2-year-old twins. We had newborn twins. They had 2-year-old twins. And we asked for advice. We said, what should we do? What do you have for us? And they said, well, here's the thing. You're going to find routine. You're going to find rhythms. You're going to find things that work. And the minute you find out what works, they're going to change. And it's going to be crazy. I was talking to Pastor Britsky right before church started today, and I don't know why I was having old man complaining talks to him, I said, well, I got to, drink the wrong water, I got to get electrolytes in, right, And then I said, well, I got a bone spur in my ankle, I'm going to have to eventually get that taken care of, but, And I just told him, I said, I'm just not ready to get old. Nobody asked me, I'm still 25 years old, okay? Nobody asked me if I wanted to be old. I was trying to impress my children, and on YouTube, there's the Senate has, the Michigan Senate has up there a video of me opening the Senate in prayer, announced by the Lieutenant Governor. And I'm like, kids, you want to see your dad? Check this out. I don't know who that man was, but he had the darkest hair, a terrible hairline, but, and it's just, I'm not ready. But there's this thing, the seasons change, and there's some seasons that are really joyful, and you look back at your life, I really enjoyed this season of life, and then you look back at other ones, you go, man, I really don't need to go through that one again. There's some painful ones. And then there's just some confusing seasons. Why did I go through that? God, why would you have led me here? I don't really understand that. The Bible tells us there's a time to build and then there's a time to weep. And we don't get to pick the seasons, but we do get to decide how we respond in those seasons. And here's Solomon, after chasing every form of pleasure and wisdom, he steps back to remind us the meaning of life isn't found in what we want to do, is control time. We are so trying to control our everything around us to get to where we want. I'm going to break away from God's way. I know I'll probably get in trouble. It just popped in my mind. I probably shouldn't say this, but I used to tease Brother Don Deal. I tease him a little bit. He buys Pop-Tarts without frosting. I mean, I'm still sure the government only puts those on the shelf so they can track a certain kind of people. I'm just saying, somebody bought the strawberry, But I used to tease Brother Don. We go to Cedar Point, or we go something together, and for him to go out and you think he's a vampire. He has to get SPF 5 million, and he basically just bathes. And I used to tease him. Or we go out for a hike, and he would be real cautious with poison ivy. And I said, Brother Don, here's your problem. You're always warring against your environment. Just absorb it. Just walk. Of course, I'm just teasing him. It would be terrible advice, from to do that. But in some ways, that's what we want to do with time. It's like, okay, if we get the Botox, if we can do there's a such thing as cryogenic therapy. People go on booths and they get like sub-zero to somehow cold plunge. Oh, excuse me. I don't know where that came from. I'm getting to be old. That we do these hot saunas and all these things, because, oh man, if we can just, and the thing is this, we can't buy back 1 second of our life. We can't. It's going, it's happening, and we get so upset when we start bouncing against that all the time, just trying to war against. God has set me in this season. It would do me good to accept it and have joy in it. This is where we're going to get at today. We got to trust the God who's controlling the time, because we're not. I live out in the country, and out my front window many times is tractors. Farmers, they all like drive different tractors, and they I guess they share them or whatever. So now the corn stalks are coming down, so we watch it. The hay bales are coming through, and it's gotten cold all of a sudden. And I'm going to tell you, I looked at the window. I haven't seen any of these farmers panicking. Oh no, it's getting cold. What are we going to do? Why? Because that's what it does this time of year. And guess what? As sure as fall is coming, so will snow. And as sure as snow is coming, I guarantee you, mark my words, spring will come. Because it has. You can actually set your clock by it. I'm telling you, you know God's got it. So life seasons aren't punishment, they're preparation. Let's look at, for our young people taking notes and some of our non-young people. I mean, if you're taking notes and you're not even getting prizes from this hope, good for you. But the children are getting prizes from this hope. Number one, look at the order of God's seasons. The order of God's seasons. We saw that in the first 8 verses. A time for this, a time for that, a time for this, a time for that. That we see that life has a divine order to things. There's an appointed time for everything. There's 14 pairs of opposites describing the full sweep of the human experience. It's time for birth and then death. Time for weeping. There's time for laughing. There's time for mourning. There's time for dancing. There's time for war. There's time for peace. And each of these contrasts remind us that God is sovereign both in the highs and the lows of life. In the highs and lows of system, God is still in control. The problem is when we're doing the good times, the peace and the laughing, in the time of love and birth, oh man, God is great. God is so big. And it's so easy for us to just surrender and go, oh God, I love you so much. But when we go into the time of death, war, mourning, weeping, then all of a sudden our heart begins to war and go, whoa, 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 whoa. If God is all powerful and God is all good, why would I experience these things? It says here there's an opposite to each one. There's a time for everything. And God is sovereign in all those things. And God's seasons are balanced. Life is not all sunshine. And it's not all storms. It can't be. Can I ask you today, what is your favorite season and why is it fall? That is the only right answer, okay? Fall is the best season ever. You know, even some of you Southerners, which, listen, us Northerners, there's a lot of Southerners starting to join the church now. I'm just saying, they like to, just watch out. Watch the old Mason-Dixon line around here. I'm teasing, I'm being facetious, okay? Grace is laughing maniacally at me, so. No, okay. And all the Southerners, I say, so tell me, what brings you, why do you, and they said, fall, this is why I'm in Michigan, fall. The colors are beautiful. The bugs are, well, such as box elder things. But the weather's nice. You can go out to an apple orchard. You go to cider. I asked Brother Josh, he goes, there's such thing as cider mills in Louisiana. He's like, nah, not really. It's kind of a this area thing. And it's just, this is an awesome time. I love fall. But here's the thing, what if it was fall all the time? The sun sets kind of early. We're trying to plant grass right now at our house, and it's not really coming up. I don't have the heart to tell my wife, we planted it in the wrong season. Super cold in the morning, sun's not out long enough. It's just, we finally got some rain finally coming through. If it was always fall all the time, we would be in danger. Our food would not grow. And I know you're thinking well, I don't eat food that grows. I eat the food that eats the food that grows. Well, you're in trouble also, right? Why? Because we need it. In spring comes the good stuff. All of a sudden we get all this rain and the sunshine and all the crops and the stuff grows up. And in the summer, you just get that sun, that beautiful sun, making that beautiful photosynthesis as the crops are growing. And in fall, it's time to harvest. And in winter, it's great because all the leaves and everything comes down. The snow comes over. It breaks it all down, makes our ground so nutrient. And it's like the winter is this beautiful kind of like a reset. And then we get to start all over again. And the thing is this, we need each of these seasons to have what we have. We can't be locked in any one season. I was trying to console Brother Josh when he moved up here, because, he's used to Louisiana, which is just basically sun all the time, And I said, here's the thing about Michigan. Yeah, you're going to get some winter, okay? But by the time it starts to get old, it's kind of over. By the time you get sick of a season, it's almost over. At least that's my opinion. I was trying to help him deal with it. And maybe I was trying to help myself deal with it at the same time. But that's what it is. But it can't be all the time. And God alternates our seasons in our life. He does it to shape us, humble us, and grow us. If life were all one thing, we'd lose perspective. What if life were all joy? I don't know about you, but if my life, if God just would ever sent an angel and says, make sure Chris has everything he ever needs, and just don't ever make him ever want for anything, just take care of him all the time, and whatever he thinks about, don't even let him stub his toe, don't let him get a splinter, and the second he thinks something, I would be the most soft-spoiled person on the planet. You understand that we have to, and I wouldn't have a deep relationship with God as I do now. Because what we tend to, when we go through the bad times, isn't that kind of the time that really glues our heart with the Lord? In the deep valleys when things get scary and it's out of control for us, aren't those the sweetest times of communion with our heart and God? And we get to learn and hold on to Him and go, wow, He's so good and He's so faithful. And we only get that in the foxholes of life. Or if I can say the winters of life. I got to be careful because some of you transplants up here, you guys like winter, We kind of endure it, Some of you pray for snow. We don't, okay? Us real Michiganders, we don't, okay? But some of you all love that stuff, and so I don't know what time is a good season or bad season for you. But we see that, David said in Psalm 31:15, he says, my times are in thy hand. And that's his perspective, and this is during a time when David, they believe, was under persecution. It was either Saul or it was Absalom. He's under persecution, and all the scariness of it, he says, God, I want to let you know my time is in your hand. My times are in your hand, Lord. You're going to take care of everything that needs to be done. So what I want to say before I move on is don't resist the season you're in. Reverence the one who sent it. Pastor, you don't know what I mean. I am in a winter right now. I'm in a deep, bad season right now. I'm not saying it's easy. And I'm not saying that all of a sudden it tickles you and you have to giggle all the time. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying don't resist it. Reverence the one who sent it. Trust that God who allowed the storm also scheduled the sunrise. God's sunrises are never late. He gets them on time every time. And God's order gives us confidence. But also we see that His orchestration gives us hope. Number 2, write down the orchestration of God's purposes. Because now we get to verse 9. We're past a time for this, a time for that. In verse 9 it says, what profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboreth? What profit? Solomon asks, what profit is he that worketh in? What he's saying is, we can't always see what God is doing. The problem is, when you're going through a difficult time in life, you don't really get to see what... wouldn't it be easier if you woke up in the morning and a little note got parachuted down, like if you lost your job or got some bad news, all of a sudden, God parachuted a note down and says, this is for your good. This is going to lead you to this place, which is eventually, it'd be easier, wouldn't it? But where would the faith be, right? Where would we learn to trust? So we realize that in the moment, we don't always see what God's doing. Life can feel like work without reward until we remember that God is composing the whole piece, not just one measure. See, God's perfect timing we see in here. Look at verse 10 and 11. I've seen travail which God hath given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. He hath made everything beautiful in His time. Also, He hath set the world in their hearts, so that no man can find out the work of God maketh from the beginning to the end. See, God makes everything beautiful, but here's the thing. It's always going to be His timing. His timing. His timing is always perfect, isn't it? See, the problem is we always see the fragments. We see the little bits. And we don't get to see because God sees a finished frame. I love this time of year, and this is always my favorite time of year. And when I get my day off, I go out for my long run. I go to the same park. I love running the same trails. And it's really cool because this time of year, I don't know how this happens, but there's a group of people, I'd say like maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, depends on how the weather is. And on the side of a trail, you'll never know where they're at. They're somewhere different every time. And at the side of a trail, they'll have a bunch of, they'll be like kind of like maybe like spread out in like this big of an area, different areas, and they have easels. And it's like old school Bob Ross. Like they have like those, what are those things called with the paint? Pallets. Yeah, I should have known that. They have pallets, and they got their canvas, and there'll be a beautiful scene of reds and greens, and this time of year, then it burns into yellows, and they get the sugar maples, and I've always wanted to be in one of those paintings, but I don't. Got to stand still too long, But they're painting at the water, and there's like these, so they're painting, and a lot of times, like early on, I try to get there as the sun's coming up, so there's the sun's coming up. So my first time through, I'm not trying to be nosy, but you run past somebody painting, you're going to look at their painting, right? So I'll be kind of running through, and I'll kind of side eye and go like, Like, it don't look, I'm like, they don't look good, you know? You might want to do something else with your time, you know? But here's the thing about it. I'll kind of do a lap, go around the lake, come back again, come back the second time and go, oh, okay, I see what that was there for. I can see it. And there's just an old saying that says you don't judge the painting while the brush is still on the canvas. You got to see the whole picture. You got to see what the artist is in their mind, what they're coming out with, because there was a while, actually about a year ago or so, we found a TV station that was 24/7 Bob Ross. For some of our younger people, Bob Ross was this white dude, the biggest afro you ever seen, and he had this voice that would just, whatever was going on in your life, it would just make it okay. He was like, today, I think we're going to build a cabin. And you know, probably the guy in the cabin, he needs a happy little squirrel to keep him company. And that squirrel's going to need a treat. Apparently, didn't he have a pet squirrel sometimes? It was on PBS. He had a pet squirrel he'd bring in sometimes. And he'd basically, you know, get his canvas ready. My kids loved it. We'd be like, what's he doing? And at first, it's like, that's dumb. What is that? And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, whoa, that was what the picture was. That's the whole thing. That's what it's supposed to be. And we see that often. And I think this is what Solomon is trying to tell us right here. Solomon's saying, don't judge the painting of your life just yet. I know you're in a rough spot. I know this is so confusing, and maybe it feels bad and ugly, but you're only looking at this one thing. But God is not going to leave you right here. This is just a season, and just wait for the next one to come. Just wait till what he's doing. Wait to the end. Just don't call your season ugly while God's still working on it. That's what he's saying right here. See, we see the eternal longing. You often don't miss this phrase, too, in the end of verse 11, where it says he has set the world in their heart. In the vernacular, what they're saying is he set the idea of eternity, that God's placed in every person a deep awareness that there's more than just this moment. There's a longing for purpose that only he can satisfy. It brings us the New Testament. Romans 8:28 tells us all things work together for what? Good. All things work together for good. I know there's more to that verse. I know you know the more of it, but the part I want to camp on is we realize that God can take painful, bad, awful things, and he can make them what? Good, right? Good. There's a lot of us here, we would not be where we're at right here today if there wasn't some tragedy that we'd experienced in our lives, right? But that was what the Lord used to get us where we needed to go, to get to the spot where he needs to have us be, where he's going to do a great work. So the problem is, what we have to do is get out of our flesh, and we got to stop saying, you know, oh man, why now, Lord? Why are you allowing this now? And we can start asking, you know, what would you have me to do now, Lord? What do you have in this? You wouldn't allow me to go through this if you didn't have something for me. Because the song says if we can't trace his hand, what? Trust his heart. God, I can't see what you're doing in this, but I know who you are, and I know you're good. And I can rest in that. See, God's order and his orchestration leads the inevitable outcome. That his eternal plan is going to be fulfilled. We see this, that God's plan, and by the way, kids, you're taking down your notes, number 3, the outcome of God's plan. The outcome of God's plan. Look at verse 12 and 13. I said, I know that there is no good in them for a man to rejoice, but for a man to rejoice and do good in his life. And also, that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of his labor, of all of his labor. It is a gift of God. See, Solomon concludes that when we accept God's seasons, we can find joy in the present. To rejoice and to do good and to enjoy the good of his labor. See, when we stop fighting time, again, we start trying to go against the season we're in and trying to claw our way out of a divine season that God has us in, and we just accept it, don't fight against it, and say, okay, Lord, what is the purpose? What is the plan in this season? And get busy about it. We can find joy in it. We'll rediscover that joy. Again, I asked one of our people, I mentioned it this morning in the message, and I said, man, you've been through it, brother, for a long time. In fact, if you were just to throw your hands in the air and say, I'm done, nobody would fault you. So tell me about it. Well, you can't really bug yourself wondering why and all these things, but just continue moving forward and finding joy. And if I'm at the hospital, at least I'm going to be around people I can tell about Jesus. Nurses, doctors, other patients. At least we can still be a witness. And I gotta be honest with you, I think when someone's going through it and they still have the joy of their salvation on their face and their lips, doesn't that just hit a little deeper? Whoa. I thought I'd have been, you know what, somebody cut me off today. Woe's me, I don't even know. And you realize that it was your little meow and your inconvenience, and there's other people who are going through absolute torture in their life. And they still have a smile and saying, God is still good, I'm still going to serve him today. Why? How do you get there? Is it insanity? Is it drug-induced? I mean, what is that? No, it's just realizing that, God, I accept where you have me, and I'm going to shine right where you planted me. I am 44 years old. Now, listen, I know I'm joking around a lot, okay? If I really pretend to be 25 again, I have a rough road ahead of me. And you all know there are adults like that out in the world trying to be teenagers again. There are some dye jobs in hair that look so terrible. In fact, now toupees are coming back, right? And me, it's all natural. All salt now, no pepper hardly anymore, right? I mean, I'm going to keep up with the young people. I'll be honest with you, sometimes we put the kids to bed at like 8:30 just because I want to go sleep. I'm tired. I was up early. I just want to watch Matlock and go to bed. You know, I'm just kidding. I'm not that old yet, but I don't know if that's even on TV anymore. But but I'll watch the Jeopardy and see the wheel. And I just, the one bad thing about COVID is my wife and I we figured out something in life. A lot of people want to eat late. My wife and I we've always we want to have dinner like 4:35, which is prime old people time. We love that. Since COVID, everybody has dinner. Have you noticed that? Everybody's earlier. I don't know why that is. That's a rabbit trail. You can figure that one out on your own, though. But I'm just trying to say is, I can get the Botox, and maybe if I come in, I take a vacation, and I come back, and my face is like this, and I got, and I'm trying to hang out with the boys. I mean, listen, my life is going to be rough, okay? But you know what? Hey, I made it to level 44 in life, okay? I've never been this far before. This is awesome, right? And I've often said, I told my wife that, I said, this is my favorite season of life I've ever been in. Now, again, I kind of wish I had the youth a little bit, but man, my family's young. I got young kids in the home, and everything's great. I love the ministry. Every Sunday, today I woke up, I said, oh, the weather's terrible. Oh, I hope we'll have church today. The place is packed this morning. It was awesome. It's great. And standing at the door, and people say, oh, the message helped me, and it's so good. It's so good. And I'm just saying this, you know what? Let's just be right where God has us. And God's plan will produce joy. We'll stop fighting against time and start trusting God that, He's got this season ready. His plan's unchangeable. Did you see that in verse 14? I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And God doeth it, that men should fear before Him. We can't add or take away from God's plan. It's eternal, unshakable, it's perfect. So we don't have to worry about manipulating outcomes when God already controls the ending. I think so often the Apostle Paul, remember when Jesus was trying to get a hold of Apostle Paul on the road to Damascus, and he says, Paul, why do you persecute? Why is it hard for thee to kick against the pricks? Meaning that I'm trying to guide you. I'm trying to, go that way. And he says, you kick against it. And the only thing when you're injuring is yourself. And I wonder sometimes that we want to manipulate God's plan. We want to somehow take things, we want to go our own direction, and we don't want to submit to God's direction because we don't either trust Him or there's a problem there. And all we end up doing is just hurting ourselves. And we got to come back to Him and realize that He's got an unchangeable plan. So we're where God would have us to be right here, and we can be excited about it. There is no use going back and saying, boy, if I could change one thing, I wouldn't have married that person. I wouldn't have bought that car. My brother Josh, he's got bad luck picking out cars. The ones you got now are pretty good. But there's a time where you just want to look back at a decision you made and you want to go, why did I buy this house? Why did I accept this job? Why did I? We can go back and we can fight. What's the point? There's nothing we can do to undo anything that's ever been done. The reality is we're right here, we're right now. And God is the God of right here. He is not the I was, He's not the I will be, He is the I am. He's right here. So God's plan brings us that peace, but it brings us reverence also, because He says that in verse, let's see this here, verse 14, again He says, I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. That God doeth it, that men should fear before Him. That which has been done is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and God requireth that which is past. Men should fear before him. Again, it's we want to get away from the idea. It's not like in terror, like we're going to have a heart attack. It's really to give us the idea of the same idea of the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. It's that reverence, right? It's that awe and wonder and respect and go, wow, God is so much bigger than all the wisdom in my life, all the libraries of man, anything I can come to. And so the fear of the Lord means he said it, then that settles it. I don't care if the whole world votes against him. I don't care if the whole world lines the streets and they say, no kings. We'll say, King Jesus, okay? Whether everybody wants to vote him out, that's fine because you can't vote out Jesus. He's God and there's nothing you can do about that, okay? So understand that it brings that reverence. And when we see his control over every season, it humbles us. And our pride, it humbles our pride and it deepens our worship. And we can actually turn away from having this, woe is me, this is a mistake, all these things, and we can go, wow, he knows exactly what he's doing. I'm going to thank him and I'm going to praise him in this. You'd be amazed how much it would take people out of that victim mentality if we could turn around and have an attitude of gratitude when everything God happens in our life. It's such a powerful, powerful thing that we have to have. We're only going to recognize that when we see what God is doing, where Solomon comes to this beautiful end here, and it just humbles us. We might not love every chapter of our story, but we can trust the author of our story. True peace comes when we surrender the pen and let God write the story. I like that when Solomon says about being beautiful in his time, and when Solomon says God makes everything beautiful, he's not promising every circumstance will feel pleasant, but he's promising every part will have a purpose. You might be in a season of wanting, loss, maybe a season of change, but you got to understand that God is still weaving beauty into the story. And when the time is right, we might. Now listen, we're not promised that before we die or at the end of every story, we're going to say, oh, that's why, God, that's why you allowed this pain in my life. This is why you allowed this. We don't always get that. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We trust him and we know that he's doing what he's doing and we trust him in it. See, understand that life is not random. It's rhythmic. There's a time for everything, and God is on time every time. That's where we need to trust today. And the devil is going to, again, want to push you, want to rush you. The devil is like those timeshare presentation people. No. You have to sign up today, or you will miss out on the deal of the century. If you miss out on, and it's high, and that's always the way. You always know when you're being rushed, when you want to wait for marriage, and I know we got little kids in here, and the devil's going, why wait? Get going now, or all these different things that come in. God is on time. I don't have to rush. My God is on time. It's not like trying to get to church on Sunday night and just get my children to put their shoes on, okay? Some of you parents with children, you understand that reference very well. Come on, we're going to be late. Let's go. Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. I don't have to rush. Sign up today. You're going to miss the deal of the century. Oh, no, what am I going to do? We don't have to cut corners. We don't have to take shortcuts. No cheating. What we can do, if we really trust God, we understand the idea of the seasons he has for us, we can finally set down our anxieties, our shame of the past, and our regret, and we can put away all those things, and we can just be still. Not just physically, have our heart still. Like that pond that is this glass with a perfect reflection. Just be still. And just know that God has everything under control. If life feels out of season, bring it back to the one who controls the time and the seasons. I'm asking you to trust him, rest in him, and believe that what he's doing, even in this, even in the moment you may be in today, will be beautiful in his time.